Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are back learning Siach Sarfei Kodesh today. I think this is video number 4. We are going to learn about Rebbe Nachman's marriage, how he got married, and everything like that. So, the Shidduch of Rabbeinu was made with the daughter of Rabbi Ephraim me Oisatin. Oisatin was a small village that was close to the city of Medvedevka, and the Shidduch was made by a few different tzaddikim who knew the greatness of Rabbi Ephraim because they stayed in his house many times. He was a special man, and he used to take in a lot of guests. All the different tzaddikim would stay there, and they knew that this guy Rabbi Ephraim was a great person, and his children were also very great. And Rabbi Ephraim also asked them to make a shidduch for his daughter. And they made the shidduch for the Naira Hatzadekes Moras Sashya. Her name was Sashya. And they made the shidduch with Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. And the wedding was in Medvedevka. Okay? And Rebbe Nachman got married. It says over here that Rebbe Nachman got married at the time that he became bar mitzvah when he was about 13 years old, which was a regular age back in the day, in those times, in the late 1700s, to get married. Okay? Now it describes the day of Rebbe Nachman's wedding. On the day of Rebbe Nachman's wedding, it says on the day of his chuppah, Rebbe Nachman was Isaac in Avodas Hashem. And after Rebbe Nachman covered the face of the Kala at the Bedekin, right before the chuppah, he went and he called a few of the youths that were there. This is a very, very famous story that everybody knows. It's written in different svarim. And he spoke to each one privately. And he wanted to try to figure out where they were standing in their Avodas Hashem. Right? V'achar kach, he called Rabbi Shimon, who was the son of Rabbi Ber, and he spoke to him also in Chachma, like Ki'ilu, that Rabbi Nachman wanted the pleasures of this world, like what do we need to learn Torah for, everything like that, whatever. And Rabbi Shimon stood there quietly, and he did not answer him, because obviously he did not want these things. So Rabbi Nachman said to him, you are not a person, you don't want these things of this world. And Rabbi Shimon said, I am a simple man, and I want tmimus, I want simplicity. And Rabbi Nachman said to him, if you think like this, then come with me. And he also said to him, he said in Yiddish, but I'm going to say it in Hebrew, that's what's written here on this farm. It says, Kifia nira shiyeh hakeres gadol benenu. It seems that we will have a great kind of friendship together between us. Afterwards, Rabbi Nachman told him that he spoke to different people there, all these different youths, and he was testing them and seeing what they really wanted, and they're all very, very far from Avodas Hashem, and that they were all Balei Avera, Rahman al-Litzlan. But obviously Rabbi Shimon was not. Right? So then Rabbi Nachman and Rabbi Shimon went to the field, and they spoke a lot in Avodas Hashem, in great Hishtoikus. Obviously, there was a lot of time before the chuppah, which is very interesting. And Rabbi Nachman spoke to Rabbi Shimon with a lot of his soyrus, that there's no tachlis in this world except for to separate from all the different desires of this world and to serve Hashem. Especially me, because today is now my chuppah, and all my sins are forgiven. Right? And he spoke to him a lot, all these different types of things. And they spoke and they were talking until the chuppah. And then they had the chuppah. And that was that. And from then on in, Rabbi Shimon was very attached to Rabbi Nachman. And they used to speak a lot, and they used to go out to the fields a lot. And talk about Avodas Hashem. And one day Rabbi Shimon said to him that you will for sure be Zaychet to be a big tzaddik who is very, very famous. and hopefully I'll be able to, serve you and take care of you then. And it was that it happened eventually that Rabbi Shimon became Rabbi Nachman's Gabbai. And Rabbi Shimon is buried here in the city of Siach Sarfei Kodesh, close to the Arizal's caver, and he went to Eretz Yisrael, I believe, after Rabbi Nachman passed away. Before the chuppah, Rabbi Nachman revealed to his to-be wife his greatness, right? But he made her swear that she would not reveal anything to anybody, right? Because if she does, then he won't be able to get to what he needs to get to. And even afterwards, I'm trying to understand what it's saying over here. Right, even afterwards, that Rabbi Ephraim didn't see such a greatness in Rabbi Nachman as he was told, right? But because his daughter was sworn that she couldn't reveal anything, she was not able to tell her father that Rabbi Nachman is really great, because Rabbi Nachman would try to hide his greatness, right? Even though she suffered because of this. So now Rabbi Nachman was married, and he was living in his father-in-law's house, and every single year it was his minhag to go with his wife to Mezhbush, to the house of his mother and his father, to be mekayim the mitzvah of kibbud avim, pipshitas, right? And obviously it was his great way, his holy way of Rabbi Nachman would hide him, his greatness, right? Especially in the days of his youth, right? And so at that time, nobody really knew how great Rebbe Nachman was, right? It says over here, all of his avodah was in great hiddenness, that nobody knew at all about, especially in the kilos of Mezhbush, where they used to go visit or whatever. They didn't know anything that Rebbe Nachman was a great person. Only in where he lived, a little bit people knew, right? And it says over here that only in the Medinas of Ukraine, because like whatever back then it was like Ukraine, Russia, whatever, right? So where he lived was close to the kilos of Medvedevka, which is at the edge of Ukraine, close to the Gvul of Russia, right? So there, people would hold of him a little bit and give him a little bit of covet. But when he was in Mezhbush, they didn't know from him at all, because he was sasum v'ganuz ma'od. He was very, very closed off, for everybody, right? And it says over here that when Rebbe Nachman was living with his father-in-law in Kfar Oisatin, he saw many tzaddikim over there, like for example, he saw Rabbi Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl, right? Because all the different tzaddikim would come over there. One time when Rabbi Nachman of Chernobyl was in Kfar Satin, right? There was a story when Rabbi Nachman was going on the way, and there was birds flying over them. And I guess the Bala Gala was, he had a whip. They whipped the horses. He accidentally hit one of the birds, and the bird died. And Rabbeinu says, "Nu at shavazos." I guess maybe he was talking about like this bird was like a gilgal or something. And Rabbi Nachman of Chernobyl saw this, and he was in great wonderment. And he spoke up in the praise of Rabbi Nachman. He says, he has beautiful eyes, right? From what he's able to see, I guess, special. What should we do over here? 9. When Rabbi Nachman was sitting in the house of his father-in-law, it was his way to go to Mezhbush and to go to the Tzion of the Baal Shem Tov. And when he was not able to go to Mezhbush, right, because it was a far journey, he would go to the Kilas of Smila, which is close to the city of Cherkas, unto the cave of the Tzaddik, Rabbi Shaya Miyanov, who was from the greatest of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov who wrote the Sefer Tzivas HaRivash, who was buried there, and he made this tzaddik a shliach to go to the Baal Shem Tov and tell him what he needed. Pretty wild. Rabbeinu, when he was young, he used to do things in a hidden way, right? And he was noig to give to a balagala, to a stam wagon driver, of his father-in-law, whatever, some money. Before everybody woke up, he would go in the morning to go to the cave of Rabbi Shaya Miyanov, like we just said, right? And he would come back to his house before everybody woke up, and nobody knew about this. Right? And one time, his father-in-law saw that the horses were sweating, and he understood that there was something going on over here. And he asked the servant, and the servant had to tell him the truth. The next story is very long, so we are not going to do it this week. Maybe we'll do another video this week. Right now, this is what we learned today of Rebbe Nachman.